Every Christian wedding eventually reaches the same words. A man shall leave his father and mother, be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one. Most of us hear these words, smile, and wait for the celebration to continue. But very few of us stop to ask a simple question. What does it actually mean to leave? Does leaving mean abandoning your parents? Does it mean disrespecting your family? Does it mean forgetting your culture? I don't think so. Leaving is not about distance. It is about direction. A person can move to another province and still be controlled by their parents. Another person can live next door to their parents and still be completely independent in mind and spirit. The Bible says we must leave. Later, it also says we must honor our father and mother. At first glance, these ideas seem to contradict each other, but perhaps they complete each other. Children obey, adults honor. There is a difference. To honor our parents is not to remain dependent on them forever. We honor them by receiving what they taught us, preserving what is good, improving what is incomplete, and building something greater for the next generation. We stand on their shoulders, not to look back, but to see further. That is how knowledge grows. That is how cultures survive. That is how generational wealth is created. Marriage is not simply two people moving into the same house. Marriage is the meeting of two cultures. Every family has its own language, its own relationship with money, its own way of solving conflict, its own traditions, its own fears, its own strengths. If neither husband nor wife can question those inherited patterns, then nothing new can be built. They simply recreate the families they came from. Sometimes that is beautiful. Sometimes it repeats generation of pain. Perhaps this is why the Bible places leave before become one. You cannot become one while belonging completely to two different households. You must first become responsible for creating a new one. In many African communities, marriage was never just about two individuals. Families and communities were involved. There is wisdom in that. Community gives support, but support should never become control. Relatives should strengthen a marriage, not govern it. There is another misunderstanding that affects many of us. Too often, pregnancy becomes the reason for marriage. A child certainly creates responsibility, but it does not automatically create compatibility. Marriage should not exist because two people conceive the child. Marriage should exist because two people consciously choose to build a future together. These are different things. And perhaps this is why so many marriages become financial prisons instead of places of peace. We enter marriage hoping it will heal our childhood wounds. We expect our spouse to solve problems we carried from our families. But marriage was never designed to replace healing. It was designed for building. Maybe readiness for marriage has little to do with age. Maybe it has very little to do with man. Maybe readiness begins here, A person is ready for marriage when they can honor their parents without needing permission from them to build a new household. To me, that is what living means. Not rejection, not disrespect, but maturity. Because every generation must receive an inheritance and then add something worthy before passing it forward. Ale Bukharama said, we give thanks to the Most High. Thank you, son.